be given a little later on, but he is heading the cataract, the refractive part, and he is based at Coimbatore. He is also into research. He is also, I think, heading the research portfolio of Shankara Eye Hospital. He is into research of various machine and IOLs. Beside Dr. Reddy, today we shall be having our own Dr. Virendra Agarwal and Dr. Samresh and our own panelist to take this meeting forward. Last month, we had a very good case-based meeting. Team SMS under the able leadership of Dr. Pankaj Sharma had organized that meeting wonderfully well. We have had very good attendance also. In the next month, we are lined up with 2 meetings. I think on 5th of August, we shall be having one JOS evening type meeting. And August, we shall be having another case-based meeting at Virendra Eye Hospital. So I think we are now in continuation, we would be witnessing many academic feast. So with this, I invite Dr. Neeraj to conduct today's meeting. Dr. Neeraj.
Thank you, Mukesh sir. Good evening, teachers, mentors, seniors, colleagues, everyone. I welcome you all to this CME, which is being jointly organized by Shankara Eye Hospital, Jaipur and the Jaipur Ophthalmological Society. This program is being organized under the able leadership of Dr. Mukesh Sharma, who is the president of JOS, Dr. Mayank Agarwal. So coming from all the way from couching to corneal laser refractive procedures, we've come a long way. But those of us who practice refractive surgery on daily basis, we realize that there are plenty of fallacies, there are plenty of issues still remaining. As of today, the patient's expectations are also very different, very much higher. So the patient in terms of care expects the best outcome. They expect the best healthcare services, as well as they also expect to be given bespoke solutions for all their problems. In this context, in today's CME, we are trying to address one such issue, that is refractive surgery. So that's why we've aptly named it as Vision Quest 2023, Advancing Refractive Surgery. So before we start, I would like to first invite Dr. Mukesh Sharma to felicitate Dr. J.K. Reddy. Vinodji. I then invite Dr. Mayank to felicitate Dr. Virendra. I would like to invite Dr. Sandeep Vijay to felicitate Dr. Samresh. So before we start our session, I would like to invite all our panelists to assume their seats. Dr. Sonu Goyal, Dr. Harshul Tak, Dr. Rohit Charan, and Dr. Ashok Singh, sir. So I would now invite our first speaker for the evening, Dr. Virendra Agarwal. He's very well known by this esteemed group present here. He has a vast experience in refractive surgery and is one of the leading authorities on this topic. His talk is on ideal pre-op evaluation for a patient who's interested in undergoing refractive surgery. So over to you, Virender sir.
Thank you, Neeraj, and thank you, Joyce, for this opportunity between our own friends. Excuse me, ये कहाँ से है भैया? स्लाइड कहाँ से है? हाँ. बीच वाला. सर की प्री ऑपरेटिव एक मिनट का 2 मिनट में आपको इशारा कर दूंगा. कर लेना. तो बुला लिया मैंने आगे, पहले बोल दिया पंकज हेल्प. Yeah, I think this is a GOS meeting after a very long time, in which we are meeting physically in a place where no, it was SMS was not a GOS meeting that way. It was mainly for PG. बीच में कौन सा था? Ah, that day I was not here. That day, sorry, then I missed it. Yeah. Okay. So I must thank the Sankrai Hospital, Nirasha and Joes for arranging this refractive meet for our speaker. And as you all know, the refractive surgery is becoming more and more popular, more and more common. And you require an ideal preoperative workup. There is nothing like word ideal, because still it remains incomplete in many situations, and you don't feel very happy and satisfied. But definitely this is a surgery which is upcoming surgery, and soon it will surpass many other surgeries. And we are lucky that eye surgery like cataract and refractive surgery are the most common surgeries performed. So these top instruments, machines or surgeries, but I have my bread and butter earning from these surgeries, so I keep on doing these surgeries. There are situations where patients want surgery. Patient wants surgery, and there are situations where we can't handle. So I'm just giving a food for thought kind of situations. These kind of patients are every day, because patient know that the glasses can be removed, so they come to us and to you also, and you know that we have to offer. We all know that we are performing these surgeries on a normal eye. Normal eye means they are not as such known having disease. We came to know some diseases are patients may surgery into complications of developing loss of vision or deterioration of vision, or some complication by which their quality and quantity both can be compromised in the of vision. There are many surgeries. Mainly it is a laser vision correction, which can be LASIK, surface ablation or smile. And for some time refractive lens exchange was practiced and now it is not being done. Space particularly for high hypermetrops and in different age groups, particularly after middle age. Our aim should be that we should not do anything in which the patient is loser. So we have to take a very stringent rules and our own protocols, our own experience, and we should be before doing surgery also, that we should not do something to young people life. So are we correcting the what will be the good and bad for him? And that is the main purpose of doing this workup and patient examination system. As you all know, the age is very important criteria because the refraction should be stable. Initially, when we started 25 years ago, the age was considered as 18. Now it is 20 and gradually it is becoming 20 plus. Sex is not an issue in the sense that initially it was thought of that it is surgery for females. My experience that it was almost equal, and now I am seeing there are more males. There is one reason for more males is that for military region and many other jobs in which male preponderance is more, and in Rajasthan there are lot many people goes to army, and because of this we are getting more number of male patients at our center. Stability is must, because what all you are going to do will remain forever. If it remains stable refraction, it will be a result forever. If it is not a stable, feel that you have done wrong. You can't explain patient that your age was low and I did surgery and it was not stable, so that's why it is increasing. So we have to be very careful. There are some systemic drugs and ocular drugs which can be causing some corneal problems, so you should take history of it. Previous ocular surgeries, particularly illness like herpes, some corneal ulcer, there can be reactivation of herpes, some profession in which the quality of vision is required. It was supposed that night glare and night problem will be there in almost all, but nowadays we know it is almost not there, because one thing, it is not very dependent on pupil, it is more dependent on the profile we are using, and the systemic history of autoimmune disease, coronary vascular disease, pregnancy, diabetes, atopy, epilepsy are sometimes full contraindication, sometimes they are relative. Expectation should be very clear to the patient and surgeon. If you miss it, then there can be a problem. There are cases in which you know the disease like keratoconus, ectasia can be there in the family, so it is better to ask that have anybody undergone the same refractive surgery or have anybody been refused for this surgery. Because if brother is refused for surgery, the sister should not be taken for surgery, or you should check the data for both. Ophthalmic examination is of paramount importance. You need to do a actual refraction in the sense of dry cycloplegic and retinoscopy. My stress, particularly I love retinoscopy, and my confidence on retinoscopy is very, very high. There are times when I picked up keratoconus in very subtle stage, and then we could save those eyes, because initially we were doing keratoconus screening by topography only, and gradually with the retinoscopy and topography combined experience, now we have our own experience by which we can pick up the keratoconus by doing retinoscopy in even subtle stage also. Peripheral retinal screening is must, because majority of the patient now we are doing is myopia. Hypermetropia is almost not there in refractive scenario, and all should be aware that I hope that you all know the high myopes may not have retinal problems, but they are more often in the mid-range of myopia, and they are the common patients for refractive surgery. Tonometry, dominance, pupillometry, they are having some importance, but not of paramount importance. But refraction, peripheral screening, tear field examination is very, very important. And there are times when the patient was having orbital issues or the peripheral fissure issues, and during surgery you feel that is not being able to do safe surgery, and sometimes you require to peripheral fissure or very deep set eyes, then maneuvering may be difficult. Strabismus is of importance, because if you are not told patient beforehand that you are having a squint, and sometimes with the larger frames and thick frames, the patient may not be noticing that strabismus is there, and the moment you do surgery, parents comes that you have created. Lot of investigative tools are available. one alone cannot do justice. So you require to do 2-3 tools, and doing 2-3 tools gives you more confusion. But it's better that when you are confused, not to do surgery. I am very happy that Pankaj is a master of imaging, all kind of corneal tools. Pankaj has told us many times, and he is really expert. I am not that much experienced in detailing them in theory, particularly to use, and when to have doubt to avoid surgery is good number. And I will share my experiences with different examination, what you notice that how they can be useful and when they should be taken into consideration of doing repeat examination on the same machine, different machines to confirm the findings, and sometime your clinical acumen or judgment. And best way is to wait and watch if you are in doubt, or avoid the surgery till you are very sure. The another thing is that when you cannot do laser vision correction surgery, you can choose other modalities, particularly the phakic lenses. But for that also, the parameter should be very fixed. In the refractive surgery, you need to do every time the same procedure with the same meticulousness, and there is no variation in the surgery. Like you do cataract surgery, sometimes it is a hard cataract, sometimes it is soft cataract, sometimes there is a corneal opacity, sometimes it is a high myope, sometimes it is eyepiece or something, which keep you giving feeling that it is a surgery. You are a surgeon, you are dealing with different situations. But refractive surgery is a very monotonous job. You need to do the same surgery again and again. It should be 100% repeatable. It should be 100% predictable. It should deliver the results at 100%. Everybody knows that 100% cannot mean 100% in sense of recovery, but 100% recovery should be in your mind with the confidence that you can deliver the same. If you can't, then postpone the surgery or cancel the surgery. That is a dictum. And whenever in doubt, just refusing 2 patients, 5 patients a year, just bluntly saying, don't undergo this surgery is required. That confidence, that commitment is a must. There are different things, particularly we were not giving any importance to dry eye, but now we have many ways to diagnose the dry eye, to document it. Though if you do Sharma's test, many of the dry eyes can be picked up. But there are different types of dry eye, evaporative or whatever way. So you will feel that the Sharma is normal, but dry eye is there. Meibomian gland is getting more and more importance into it, and is very, very common also. So I will just share some of the things, how it makes difference. We started doing corneal hysteresis. Still there are so many data available, but it's not very repeatable. So gradually we have given up the corneal hysteresis. Good, patient will do good, and in the future he may actually not do good. Optical biometry, you do the refractive surgery to all patients, and they will actually undergo cataract surgery in their later life. So if you can do biometry now, it can be useful. And you can see sometimes the patients are being noticed that the patient are progressive myopia even at the age. If you have biometry in your record and you can document that the patient axial length has increased by 1 millimeter, then nobody can say that your surgery is bad, because there shows kind of regression. But if it is increasing axial length, then you are sure that nothing is going to go wrong. Otherwise, you will have fear that the patient may develop, or patient is developing something like ectasia, but it's subtle ectasia which is not be of help in these situations. Some of the paper and articles are now coming for the epithelial thickness mapping for picking up the subtle keratoconus, but I could not have my own experience as a confirmed finding, because epithelial thickness may be showing variety and variability during keratoconus, in patients of keratoconus and without keratoconus also, because we have many other tools to diagnose that patient is having keratoconus, but epithelial thickness may be not giving all time a repeatability. So I'm not giving much importance, but whenever there is a doubt, we recheck our parameters, and sometime you may miss it. So again, I will say it is a very monotonous job. You need to do all examinations, whenever required, repeat, and try to see every picture in detail. Sometimes you want to just pass on, it may be missed, and I will share how you can miss. So there are different topographers, no financial interest, but my interest or my experience with Atlas for 25 years is giving me a lot of confidence, and that I'm using Pentacam HR, Orbiscan or Sirius. There are different Schemfleck imaging system or the Orbiscan kind of system, but I will say repeatability is less than topography in my experience till date. ITS is picking up because of their aberration measurement, and particularly you can give importance to the commas and you can diagnose them subtle way. These kind of topography I'm just showing, they may look normal at the beginning, but the moment you do Schemfleck, there can be a issue. A serious picture, I'm just showing that these are the commonly used tools for topography or tomography. Epithelial thickness, I am not giving very much importance, but there are subtle papers are coming. Aberration, as I said, that comma is very, very important. Tear film analysis is very, very important because it can give you a wrong refractive error. And if you operate upon, because the tear film, if it is not stable, if it is not good, will not give you good quality of vision, and this all will be blamed on surgery, though the surgery may be good. The same way, when there is a tear gland abnormality or there is a dry eye, your refractive error can be wrong, so you may end up having under or over correction. So it should be given importance, and these are the things which can be picked up by just simple topography. When you do topography, you will come to know that the topography is not very smooth. When it is not smooth, there are black areas or there are irregular areas, you re-examine them on slit lamp. When you re-examine, it means there is something to do with the tear film, because topography is based on the tear film also. So always see that if you have done test, if it is not very perfect, repeat it. Repeat it on the same machine. Use another machine. Another machine means other modalities to assess the dry eye in between, and try to see that every time patient is blinking, and picture. In which there can be dry spot, there will be a problem. And I have high confidence and regard for retinoscopy, because retinoscopy can pick up the optical path difference. There is another machine which is not commonly used, that is, it came almost 15 years ago, but could not pick up market, and it is almost not available now, or maybe available, but not people are using. But that is just picking up like eye trace, that whatever is going through the as a light from the pupil, from the cornea, in the media, if there is some optical path difference, there is some abnormality in the surface. Commonly it is in surface, not in the media. Be like cataract, which you can pick up with a dilated examination. So if cataract is not there, then it is in the cornea. Believe it, these kind of things are very, very important and be missed on topography, even on tomography, because there is a particular kind of resolution, and in topography you can adjust resolution. In topography you can miss something, but if you reduce it too much, then you will see more of irregular areas, and these all can be checked on retinoscopy. So my request and suggestion to you all, that at least whenever you do refractive surgery, at least to the patients you are keeping them for surgery, you do retinoscopy yourself. Don't rely on optometrists. They may be very good, they can give you good number, because that is a trial and error also. You rotate the cylinder 10 degree, 5 degree, patient gets satisfied, okay, give me doctor, I am happy. Even if it doesn't read, Pankaj and me remember that when we were in AIMS, the dictum was that if you can't make patient 6'6", you are missing something. You have to find why patient is not 6'6". Whether the refractive error is 2, 1, 5, 7, 10, you have to find the reason. If you can't find the reason, then patient should be 6'6". So if you keep this thing into mind before doing surgery, you will not miss the things. That is what I want to say. And whenever you are in doubt, discuss it with the colleague. I take help from Pankaj many times by getting some investigation repeatedly done. And it is a savior that when you get things done at other places. Now I am sharing some of the examples where the things are important. Old male, he want to remove glasses for reasons that he got a service, and in service he is allowed to wear only less than 6, and 1.25 means 7.25, and he was after me that I need a surgery. Phakic lens is not allowed to me, and when I did first examination, we have done topography 3 times. Topography itself looks okay, second also look okay, third also look okay. But when I did ret, looks okay. Then we did tangential map. So you need to do not only axial maps, you need to see the tangential maps. You need to see the mean curvature. And then you find that something is there which was there in that retinoscopy. And we keep on repeating tests, and then we refuse. He didn't agree. I sent the patient to Pankaj. It is written over suspected keratoconus or not normal. Routine pentacam, topography, they don't write it. And then he got satisfied. So these kind of situation, you need to see that you should not miss it. His thickness was okay, his bed was okay, his topo was okay, and you do surgery and then you will end up in the problem. She is 31-year-old female, 7 and 1.25, 8 and 1.25. Peki was okay, refraction was stable, ocular examination was normal. You see, all examinations are normal. What is the refractive surgery choice? Harshul? Another choice. Phakic, because it was 8 sphere, 1.5 cylinder. We planned ICL. We did another investigation. Specular. No, this is a new patient, sir. This is a new patient. That was male, she is female. So the specular came 2000. My cutoff is 2800. We refused. Ultimately, we did smile with minor undercorrection in one eye, and one eye did complete. 48-year female also wanted to go for laser. Everything is okay. But you see the topography. The left eye is doubtful after lubrication. So she was suffering from the dry eye. Ultimately, we did laser blended phase beyond correction for keeping one eye distance, one eye slightly myopic for near vision, and we could solve the issue. He is 28 years. You can see everything looks okay. The thickness is 540 plus, but posterior keratoconus. So just don't go by thickness. Just don't go by the cornea is flat. 39 of situations can happen. And unluckily, this patient AC depth is also 2.6. So nothing can be done. New comes in which we can do something in these parameters. This patient looks okay. This is a pentacam. And we all have a high respect for pentacam. This is topography. So even pentacam. What I mean to say is that there are different instruments should be used, and every picture should be given due importance. Then only you can do a surgery in which you will achieve the success. The take-home message that we should not do any harm to any patient because they all are otherwise normal, having normal vision. There are few things which I would like to repeat, and they are: the patient should have a stable refraction. The ocular surface should is normal. We should not take them for refractive surgery. Multiple readings are must. My routine, we give date. When the patient comes, we do majority of time the repeat examination of these parameters. Sometime it can happen. Till date, I have not seen in my own clinic, but sometime it can happen that two patients with the same name, or the patient can be confused, and report can be done on some other name, which you see as a report and you can operate upon. The topography can be of somebody else. The pentagram can be of somebody else. So you should take care of it. Serial evaluation, whenever you are in doubt, multiple devices are of big help. Like I am doing topography, tomography, and eye trace for all patients. And above all, this is must. And this is, without this, I don't do any surgery for refractive surgery until I am very sure on retinoscopy, and these retinoscopy I do myself. Some patients have a strong inclination for removal of glasses, but if you are in doubt, just don't say that surgery, you are not fit for surgery. Make it a rule to say that you are not fit for surgery. Don't undergo and take the surgical options at some other center, because patient feels that this is new technology, so I can be safe. Sometimes they come and say, sir, for this and this reason, my marriage is due on this date, and if I don't get it done, I will get divorced or something else. But you have to be very firm in saying that you are not a fit candidate. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I finished in exact time. Yeah. Sir, dry eye is not a permanent thing. So you need to treat the dry eye, give time. And now we have many modalities. You can treat the dry eye, give time. When there is a stable refraction, repeated topographies are same. What percentage? No, sir, we are seeing, yeah, we are seeing more often. No, you need to treat them before surgery. Give time of 1, 2, 3, 4 months. They will be normal. Refraction is stable. It is not a contraindication. Only thing is that you need to give importance to treat it beforehand. And you tell him that he will require this dry eye continuation of treatment later on also. Otherwise, his vision will not be happy. Yeah. Like so many patients are having night glare mainly because of dry eye, not because of refractive surgery. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Virendra sir, for the interesting talk. You've covered almost you've covered everything possible that we should be looking at. So our next speaker is Dr. Samresh. He has plenty of flair and a gift of gab. So he's going and his gift on how to manage patient expectations after refractive surgery. Panelists, Dr. Harshul, any questions for Virendra sir?
Virendra sir, as usual, very nice talk. Few questions I'd like to know for the benefit of all the youngsters and who are about to start that. Cutoff pachymetry you look for, like below which you don't want to do LASIK, you'll only go for surface ablation. And do you always look for PTA, that is percentage of tissue ablation, or the or the residual stromal bed you'll look for? So
I think it's a very good question. I didn't want to speak in talk for the reason. When we started 25 years ago, the books used to say 200 micron is enough. And then gradually people were getting experience. I was also getting experience, and we realized that 200 is not enough. Then it was become 240, 250. The moment it was started increasing, we increase our thickness level to minimum 280. And almost for last 15 plus years, we are keeping it 300. So whenever it is not 300, we are not doing this LASIK. And 300, I'm doing all LASIK 90 micron. I don't do any 110, 130 or something. But 90 micron also LASIK, I realized that comes around 100. Most often it is 95 to 105. So you need to do calculation like this, that consider it like 100. So 300 plus 100 is 400. So whenever post of thickness will not remain 400, will not do LASIK. The another thing for surface ablation, since beginning, our cutoff was almost 350. And that we have increased now surface ablation. So the Pro we are getting RST of 280. Hysteresis, I said in the beginning, there are a lot of data, particularly from one person, Reinstein, then Reinstein from UK. He says that the flap, which is having intactness in majority of the part of the cornea, is giving you some strength. So he is saying that 110 millimeter of cap of Smile Pro can be considered like a 50 micron added on the bed itself. Because his concept is that anti-stroma is more strong, that we all know. Posterior stroma is less strong. So keep in micron, the 50 micron can be added. So instead of 50, I am just adding 20 micron for the safety measures. Rest all patients, we do either phakic or refuse for surgery. Yeah. Percentage of tissue ablation comes into it otherwise also, because when you keep 300 plus, the percentage of cutting that 40% or whatever way you do will always come into this picture, because otherwise it will not be having advantage. Another advantage I have is that when I was using other machines, now I am using for almost 10 years MEL 90 machine. MEL 90 machine ablation, like if you see -3 with one cylinder, for routine machines it goes around 65, 67 micron. In MEL 90 it goes 43 micron. So 25 micron is reduced, so that gives you kind of that advantage. So that concept of 40% ablation tissue or something is not there in question for me nowadays. Yeah.
Excellent talk. I think one important thing which you mentioned was very important is retinoscopy, and two signs: scissor reflex or oil droplet reflex. Even if you see slightest, it should raise a red flag. Secondly, the epithelial thickness is important for cases where there is regression, because there is epithelial remodeling. If you have thinned out the cornea from the center, the central epithelium becomes more thicker than it was previously. So that it is important for studying regression more than studying the pre-op condition.
Viren sir, now there are have developed ectasia. So now it's, I think, more than a decade you are also doing Smile. You are the pioneer. So have you seen any case which develop ectasia? No.
I think it is not the ectasia developed because of a Smile or because of LASIK. These are the patients forming first cranial conus. You miss it because you did only one examination, as I said. No, they are normal. They are normal by what means? That I'm saying. I have shown you topo also normal. I have shown you pentacam normal. So you need to do both. And then and other things are coming. Topo is a must. My combination, if you ask me what is the best, topo with retinoscopy combination gives you full safety. And as Pankaj rightly said, scissoring. Retinoscopy, so they may not be knowing scissoring. My only concept to say, hold the retinoscope in your hand, do retinoscopy this, rotate, do this, and do it in 100 patients. You will start assessing the media. You will start assessing that it is not normal. It is having some or the other area in which the reflex is not exactly the same all over the pupil. So whenever the reflex is not same all over the pupil, he is abnormal. He is abnormal, either in cornea or in the lens. You examine the lens with the slit lamp, and 99% cases, I'm not saying 100%, you'll pick up something if it is there in the lens, except very minor nuclear scosis. But in nuclear scosis, you do a retinoscopy in undilated and dilated, you'll pick it up. But rest all is in the cornea. So do complete for the time. With few months time, it will pick up. So that is the thing. I will again come for ectasia. Ectasia by smile, ectasia. So anybody who is having a weaker cornea, like Rohit Shetty has come out with the blocks that wherever there is these kind of enzymes are less or more, then there is a chances for production of keratoconus. And he is going to come out with some test also for tear film. But what I am saying, if you do a retinoscopy, luckily I am not having any ectasia for smile and other patients also. Even to the tune that I am lucky, the patients to whom we operated with the beds mindset of 200, but that time number was very low. They have also not come out. There might have been some ectasia patients which we have operated upon, but they are not coming back to us. So that may be the reason, because whenever somebody, something happened wrong to the patient, he goes to some other doctor. But luckily, we are not seeing that somebody is calling, because in Jaipur, I know if somebody gets ectasia, he will call me, sir, you have done surgery, or Virender, you have done surgery, it is wrong. So that feeling also not there. But keeping something to say in mind that I can say no will prevent ectasia. It is not 100% sure, but majority of the time it is the thing. And for epithelial mapping, yeah. For epithelial mapping, I will say my experience, we started doing hypermetropia 25 years ago. We stopped it because all hypermetropes, the gutter created in the periphery gets filled up by the epithelium. And when it gets filled up, it works like a normal cornea for refraction. So what profile you have created on the cornea is lost. Today also I get a patient, he was 39 for pre-op, he was plus 10, he became 52 and he was happy. But today again, he is 41, 42. So he said, sir, मुझे वापस करना, मैं कहा भूल जा, वो कर दिया जब, अब कुछ नहीं करेंगे. Because hypermetrop, and that is the reason hypermetrop has gone out. There is another reason, when we started, there was no upper limit for keratometry. So we did 52 also. But now there is many patients who don't come up in which you can do these kind of hypermetropic correction. So gradually FDA did it 6 diopter, then 4 diopter. But for last, I think 8-10 years, I have not done a single hypermetropic LASIK smile or whatever it may be. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Virender sir. So, because of a technical glitch, Dr. J.K. Reddy will be filling in. So before he starts his talk, I'll give you a brief introduction about Dr. J.K. Reddy. So Dr. J.K. Reddy is the technical director of Shankara Eye Foundation across all the Shankara hospitals. He's the technical director of cornea cataract surgery across Shankara. He's basically from Andhra Pradesh, but based at Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. He's completed his MS and then joined Arvind Madurai for his fellowship. Later in 1994, he joined Shankara Eye Foundation and Coimbatore, and since 94, he's with Shankara. So since the last 30 years, he's been based at Coimbatore. So under his belt, he has about more than 60,000 eye surgeries, more than 8,000 excimer laser procedures, keratoplasties. He is one of the original describers of the Shankara technique of SICS. Of course, since the last 30 years, a lot of things have. Essence of the Shankara technique of SICS remains the same, and that can be attributed to him. He's a big innovator, researcher. His innovation work includes a lot of work on intraocular lens designs. He has worked on normal IOLs, phakic IOLs. He has also designed invented the iris claw lens that is currently being supplied by Excel Optics. He is also the inventor supplied by Appasamy. He is also the inventor of the refractive implantable lens, which is a phakic IOL by Appasamy. He also helps all these manufacturers arrive at their A constants, optimize their lens designs and everything. In fact, with respect to IOLs, any phakic or routine IOLs, you can ask him anything and everything. Coming, be it material, design, who is the manufacturer procuring it from, who is that supplier procuring it from, which country is supplying that material, any and everything he will be able to tell you. Every fine detail, which company supplies the machine that makes the IOL, everything. Secondly, he's also done a lot of groundbreaking work. He's currently working on keratoconus, intrastromal injections for keratoconus. He's also working on, he's also designed and patented a keratoprosthesis. He also has a patent in scopy ring, which helps in optimizing the astigmatism during keratoplasty. So it is a live keratoscopy wherein during the surgery itself, you can optimize your astigmatism, leading to, of course, fantastic outcomes in keratoplasty. Another of his groundbreaking work is use of amikacin with respect to nocardia and endophthalmitis rates across the south of India. One of my very interesting interactions with him was during my fellowship. Very dull afternoon, I saw a patient and I wrote my findings and sent the patient to him. Of course, we are supposed to see all the patients. And when he saw the patient, he just calls me and says that if you want to charge the patient 10,000 bucks, charge it, but do not miss a single finding. Your examination evaluation should be absolutely top notch. Of course, we've received a lot of and all that, but sometimes certain things just hit the right chord, because I know he has very superior observational skills and I had aspired to achieve these skills that just hit the right chord. So without wasting much more time, I would invite Dr. J.K. Reddy to deliver his keynote session on advances in corneal laser vision correction. I'm sure it will be exciting. Thank you.
There's some problem. I thank Jaipur Ophthalmic Society for giving me this opportunity for invitation. And Dr. Neeraj has thanked Dr. Neeraj, and he has been as a fellow and student. The Indian custom. That's what he did it. Little, you take 50% off from what he sold, then that will justify my position. Then coming to advances in corneal vision correction. So what are the recent advances or anything that's changing, making our life little better, stressless when compared with any advances coming in this past 20 years? When I started, to be frank, nothing has changed in the past 20 years. When I started using excimer laser from Schwind initially, they promised all the heaven, and there is no heaven anywhere. That's only in this space. That's a perception. That's a perception they create. There is a heaven you are buying. You put your money and buy it, and every year they repeat it. Not every year, every 5 years. That is the target for industry. Every 5 years, they launch a machine. At the same date, they start the perception for the next machine 5 years after. And you exactly get after 5 years new machine saying the old machine useless. This is the change. There won't be any change. And coming back, there are few rightly discussed in preoperative level is very, very critical. Autorefractive meter shows something and patient reads something, especially the cylindrical value. There will be 2-cylinder in autorefractive meter and 1-cylinder patient reads. Some patient reads 3-cylinder. You think one is good, and you do one, and postoperatively the another one you have to add. So this becomes very. So the concept of as Dr. Agarwal has patients are, the optometrists are trained to see the minimum power necessary to read the line. That particular point of time, that doesn't work. Here we have to go to the opposite concept of hypermetropia. The max his patient is accepting at the point of time for refractive surgery. Beyond that, correct, not the minimum power basic necessary to correct the refractive surgery. That's very important. We tell to so they don't bother, especially with 3 meters chart is become hell. If you are having a 3 meter chart, value. And come next to the dry eye. This is a you got use one. That's a reasonably okay, confusing one, even for me of reading. Deuce 2 is kill. Everybody is dry eye against deuce 2. So this killed it so much you can never use the classification. The best thing I found is so we have to just keep on doing it. The only thing is they give nice templates, which one, break, line break, constant stain, everything. Normal. That became a big headache with this. We have to see normal patients and keep in mind what is normal and separate. That one template is missing in this. What is normal? We are not having a template. So, but this is the most we found most useful for young patients. It's tear, shimmers, all most of them are useless, and they don't help us. They don't help us unless it's a really severe dry eye like rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, something like that. But this one is wonderful technique. I hate putting fluorescein. I used to shout my fellows when you put fluorescein, can't for every patient. But I changed my mind after 30 years of my cornea practice after this classification. At least 30 patients, 20 patients per day, I put fluorescein and check for. This is a wonderful way of classifying the symptomatically dry eye patient. Then come to the anterior segment topography, which is paramount importance in diagnosing early keratoconus, suspected or irregular cornea, formiferous, or whatever you call it. So we have a lot of machines like Placido, then came the Orbscan, then came Pentacam, Sirius, but all are same. There is no great, they didn't help us in any way. Because the data acquisition is not great. This is really very average. Only the computers manipulating the data and filling the gaps and giving nice pictures, tangential, curvature, Gaussian, so many things. This is only manipulation, just changing your shirt, changing your coat, or graphically putting like shoulders. But the basic, you are the same. The data they are able to get is the same. But this is the one mission anterior, the data acquisition is completely different. This is a swap source acquisition. It's a perfection, it's one step ahead. So the data which is analyzed even by the traditional methods, other methods, I believe this is going to be give much more in detecting early keratoconus or suspected cases than all our show me and use keraton score. I didn't find yes, but this machine I'm going to buy, and I think this is going to make some difference. So the formulas they use also a little bit different. They're slightly different from the other ones, but it throws much more information on early changes of corneal irregularity. Then what is happening is we are going back to the future. So the LASIK is disappearing from the market, and the surface ablation is becoming the gold standard of treatment. The LASIK is no more gold standard of treatment. It's just 40 microns. It's not great deal. The difference between the LASIK and the PRK is just a 40. See, at the outside, I want to tell you, these are very my personal opinion. Many of them, they don't have scientific basis. So because I rarely follow textbooks, so when I read the articles, first I understand the person who wrote the articles, then I interpret it. I just don't interpret the literature. First, I want to understand the person who is writing literature, then I interpret it. I may be totally wrong, but these are my personal opinions. So here there is nothing for debate or argument. So it's just not the cap that makes. Cap is not a helmet. It's just like a hat. over the cornea. The hat has no protective value in case of accident. 50 microns. When we are cutting 95 microns flap, there's just left behind the stromal thickness, which gives strength, is only 40 microns. It's nothing, it's less than peanuts. It's not the flap that makes the difference. There's something else beyond that. We need to understand why PRK is not getting ectasia, why LASIK is getting ectasia. It's not the cap, it's not the flap. It's something beyond that. That's we are not unable to understand still now. That's why nothing advancement is happening for the past 20 or 15 years when first Theo Siller reported the ectasia after LASIK. Another interesting thing is the one from Zimmer coming. This is 213 solid state. So solid state is there for a long time. I used a custom viz from Australia, 213. It penetrates a little bit better in the water. So you need not worry about hydration of the cornea. Just like the humidity of the room, and results are much stable. But the crystals are very critical. It's really critical to maintain the crystals. That's how comes 213. And it's very critical to maintain the crystals in that 213 position. That is the critical. But Zimmer guys are extraordinarily excellent guys. They're separate. They are separate species. Like Max Verstappen or Lewis, they are separate species. The Zimmer guys, they make something, they make it perfect. So even the nuts, they don't buy from the market. They make it their own machines in their own factory. So I think it's going to be one of the most accurate machines to give surface ablation in the future. They are just launching and perfecting it. Still, the machine is not available for the sale. And as Ukraine war, another war, Iraq war, our gas, and we don't know the quality of gases we are getting now. So this is going to be, I'm keenly looking at into that. Then another thing is in keratoconus. We have now, normalized, we discussed a lot. How keratoconus we can do laser vision correction, is there any possibility? So there are two methods, step-by-step approach, and the second method is one-step approach. In step-by-step method, and there are some prerequisites. The laser mission should have a topo guided or wavefront guided, or we can just do PRK if the patient is very good with that spectacle correction. We can just directly do that PRK value. So so naturally surface ablation, you're not going to take a flap. So simultaneous cross-linking, you do a procedure, same time you do cross-link. The second one is sequential, cross-linking first and do laser vision correction for 1 or 2 years once you think the refraction is stable. We did a 5-10 years back, we did a lot of simultaneous ablation. Do a simultaneous ablation. A little bit tricks what we follow. These are all common, minimum 450 microns flap, stromal bed 50. No, these are all just a routine undergraduate stuff. The laser should have a provision if it is have some Schwinn, Allegretto, Mel, and V6, they are having this provision. The other machines, some are not missing that. So case selection also important. Central cones, they do little better than eccentric cones like this. The eccentric cones like that, they do better with intacts or with case. And central cones, they do little better with laser vision correction and one. So many of the talks I heard after I stopped doing, people started doing this technique. Because of, I will tell you why. They say that it flattens the steep cornea and steepens the flat cornea. So it's not that itself is very steepening a segmental hyperopic ablation. We're going to totally mess up the total cornea. So I don't do that. I adjust the parameters till the hyperopic ablation disappears. They reduce the optic zone to 5 millimeters, 4.5. So still the hyperopic ablation disappears, only there is a myopic ablation on the cone. Then we do, this is the topo link. Like this, I adjust, and when I have a only myopic ablation, then I go ahead and do it. These are the results of few cases we have done. This is the preoperative on the right side, to my right, and to your left, and the other one is the post-operative result. And then we changed our machine to V6 when SWIN became very old, and we came to the eye design. It is a wavefront guided. So the advantages here is we got a eye tracking, and this eye tracking. So the wavefront will be registered onto the iris. This is not continuously active eye tracking. This is the one spot. Before you start the procedure, and it will do wavefront onto that. We did many cases on this, early cases of keratoconus with a small diopter's power. For example, this one case I will show you, and we calculate these aberrations. You cannot change aberrations here. Only you can change the optic zone. You cannot control spherical aberration, trefoil, all those things in V6. So, for example, this patient needs 56 microns and is having 475 Paki. So we go ahead and did a ablation, and this is a post-operative result of the patient topography, and this is the results. Pre-operative 4/60, for post-operative of 2 months, 612 with 0.75 SPR, 66 watts. So pre-operative around 7 diopters. For subjects, we for usually 7 diopters, you need around 100 microns, 110 microns. We don't need that in keratoconus. So another few cases where we did, this is a case, the steepening goes and you get a good results. This is another case of PMD with a high cylinder, when simultaneously we can do. The advantage is visual recovery and continues to improve for a year, and improves unaided visual acuity, and best corrected visual acuity also improves by a line, and shape is better. You can many times you can fit a contact lens if the vision is not good. Early to mild cases, almost near normal vision, you get it. But there are some disadvantages. It's a bit unpredictable. You cannot repeat like in a, it's not like a refractive surgery, and hyperopic shift occurs over the period of years. If you see 110, 20 patients, if you do it, at least 3 patients or 2 patients, they become +1, +2, +3 after 5 years. We are not able to understand that. The problem is the 8 patients who are good, they never come back to it. The 2 patients who are not good, 3, they come every month, every year, every 6 months time. So slowly, because we had 30, 40 patients lying in our books with hyperopic shape. So we slowly stopped this technique. Now we change it to PTK and cone. This giving a reasonably good results, stable results. We don't do PTK, the PTK onto the cone. We measure where is the cone in topography system. Enter XY, and we enter that parameters in the machine. For example, you can see the ablation. It's not in the pupils, it's going onto the cone. And so the cone will be ablated, because over the cone, the epithelium is only around 30, 35 microns most of the times. So you are doing 50 microns. So 30 microns, 25 microns, cone will go off. So the remaining is epithelium. It works very well. Almost nowadays, almost 70% of our cases are PTK with C3R. This is the one in SWIN. You don't need to do all these readings. They are giving a TopoLink for the PTK. PTK also they are giving. Now Dr. Rohit Shetty has named it a TREC, and they are regularly doing most of the cases. The results are quite good. If you see the right side and compare pre and post-operative, you get reasonably good results in this. The advantage with this is the uncorrected visual acuity improves. The best corrected visual acuity also improves. So, for example, patients are not improving, come up to 6/9. This works very well with decentered cones. It's not great for a central cones. And these are some of the images. A cornea on the right side top, you see it, so much hyperopia, 35, 35 and 40, 52K. And on the right side, you can see fairly green area and regularizing. And especially in the bottom, there's so much hyperopic cornea, it becomes more or less like a normal cornea with a symmetrical bow tie. So the gun is the one. Then what else we will do it? Because we have limited, whatever the company sells, we have to buy and use it. So we have no other choice. So I contacted one of my friend to make a laser who are working a research associate. Why don't you make a laser which for like a slit lamp delivery? It's not slit lamp. Let the patient sit comfortably instead of lying down, claustrophobia, and cyclotorch and all those problems. Because most of the procedures trans PRK, why don't you do? He said it's quite easy, I can develop. So give me some time, I will make it 1 or 2 years because it needs some money to do it. I am not having money, he spent his own money. This is only for trans PRK in sitting position. This is our team. He is Dr. George. He is a PhD. He lived a long time in US and returned back to Taiwan in eczema business. He was there right from 96. He started with microlaser and now on his own. This is the machine. It's a very small compact machine and it's got very nice features. It's got 800 hertz speed and spot size is 0.5 and remaining flying spot. And this is a 193. It's not 213. It's we are right now doing is eczema laser only 193. Laser is the objective lens is parafocal objective lens. This is different from near normal objective lens. The normal objective lens, it puts the beam at an angle when it has to ablate the periphery. In parafocal, you don't need. All the beams run parallel. We can run up to 16 millimeters parallel light. But the limitation is here is we cannot go beyond 60 centimeters from the eye. The maximum distance we can go is 60 centimeters. Unlike eczema lasers, we can go up to 200 millimeters. Here we can be only up to 60 centimeters from eye. So that is the only limitation, but that's good. Eye tracking is much, much better with that. So this eliminates the so-called the peripheral ablation problems. And this is the only laser which is having the parafocal objective lens in the world right now. The patient is very comfortable, less complex mechanics. You don't have so many bed moving up and down, Z-axis, all those nonsense, and is less dependent on environmental factors. This is a machine which was delivered to me last year, somewhere in the October. It's there in my clinic right now. We are doing slowly few cases, case by case. This is very compact. This fits in a 6x6 room, and everything is very compact and very friendly for the patient. This is the only dummy, is one of our staff, just so that we just put topical drops and a speculum, and we just want to test how the patient feel comfortable, and just keep the head and strap it. And there will be one alignment, just like any other machine, we should need alignment beam. We tried many lights around. The green light is more accurate. You put a green light alignment and a red dot, and this is infrared capturing in the monitor. You don't see anything. It's like a robot. You don't see with your eyes. There is no problem with accommodation. This is the real patient happening. If you see carefully, you can see, I don't know whether you can see, the laser beams is not in angle, it's firing parallel. Each beam is going straight in a line. So this is a patient of PTK we did for corneal dystrophy, and the eye track is very close, and the infrared source is also very close, so it can track any dense opacities. And this is once we tried one patient, one of the relatives other eye, even without speculum, we want to see whether it's possible patient will tolerate. So they are doing well, even without speculum, just paracaine drops 2 times, ask them to look at, so whenever it blinks, the eye tracker stops. So we are just investigating different methods of using this system. And this is what you see on the monitor that's happening laser ablation without speculum. There is no speculum, just paracaine drops. This is a corneal dystrophy. We are doing a PTK, almost. It took around 1.5 minutes for the machine. And this is the Thiel-Behnke syndrome, a family. This is the pre-operative one with 6/60, and this is the post-operative results. And we can see even with such a dense opacity, because the infrared source is very close and eye tracker is very close, we are able to get exactly round PTK onto the pupil. And this is the OCT picture showing what is the thickness. We got it from around 900 microns to around 600 microns. And this is another family member of the family. The same condition here is still dense. You can't see even the pupil, even with the naked eye. So nicely we got well-centered one. So one by one we are increasing now. Now this is a case of hyperopic ablation. We need +3 unilateral, +3 patient at the age of 45 years, spectacle intolerance. We did a hyperopic ablation. We got a very decent results in this patient. So this is a very complex statement. In science, we are taught that we have to analyze the results and we have to reason with our past experience. But this gentleman says, as long as your mind is fixed with your past only, what's happening, you cannot find the truth and new solutions. So you have to forget completely what you learned and never use analysis and reasoning, and then only you can perceive the truth and you can look at the truth. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Transfer. Yeah, that won't work. No, that is there. He is not able to the volume.
Yeah. So Dr. J.K. Reddy's WhatsApp description of himself reads, think it's not illegal yet. So that is what this talk was all about, as to what lines he's thinking on, what lines we could all be possibly thinking on. For the panelists, anything, Dr. Ashok sir?
A wonderful talk. And what we can expect, what is coming. We are stuck on the same thing for the last 20 years without any real changes. So what you've suggested and what you're talking about, so you can really look forward to something exciting.
Amazing talk, Dr. Reddy. It's always a pleasure to hear you. I want to know that how do you counsel, or your counselors, they tell your refractive patients about what all complications can occur in refractive. So till what extent they, scare them, and to what extent?
You see a patient with the OPD, you scare them so they don't come back to you. And if you keep on asking so many questions, if the parents and the grandparents, they ask questions, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they are not going to comply. The patient is only comply. If the patient is asking, but they are around 1%, 2%. The other guys, they want to get rid of particular data. So we are not anything we are inviting for a by invitation or a we are not doing anything like that. So we are not promising them a heaven overnight. So it's not a big deal for us. We know after the or there is nothing. So somebody asks about the complications, we tell them we are following all the guidelines and little bit more 300 microns cutoff, but we are hitting 340. And the 19 years is the cutoff, but we are hitting 42, 43. So everything we are taking 20% more care. Still, if something happens, that we can't only for the but he cannot just delay. That's one. And second thing, now it became a very easy. Now we just tell them lifestyle. If lifestyle is bad, then you are going to get it some problem. Anyway, 90% will have bad lifestyle.
Okay. Very good.
An unofficial rule can be that a patient who himself or herself wants to undergo refractive surgery, if they are asking more than 3 questions, then that's a red flag.
Again, thanks a lot for Shankar High Hospital and Jaipur Ophthalmic Society. And I'm sorry about the glitch. I'll try to keep the mic as close as possible. Promise you where it stops. My presentation stops, so the bar can be open after that. I'm going to handle. I'm going to handle a lot of post-operative unhappy patients that do turn up into our clinics. And I think all of us who are into refractive know that every third patient has some problem or the other for no apparent reason. And this is what you don't like, patients come into your clinic without a smile at 15 days or a month post-op. Typically, the complaints are quite simple. They're unhappy because they either have primarily glare, which is, like that light that bursts out. And sometimes, particularly with, lenses and all, it's not the glare, it's more like a halo. And that's, we know, is because those lenses have holes in the center. I think it all boils down, most importantly, to what the patient has been primed before the surgery has been done. Because the patient is all receptive until the surgery is done, and then whatever you've not said will not hold true, and that will be held against you. So not enough can be said about the role of counseling and multiple levels of counseling. And the surgeon will sit down and explain the bad of the surgery, so that to create a sort of a balance. You both can't speak the same language because somebody has to play the good cop and someone has to play the bad cop. Otherwise, so we normally tell the patients, and I'm going to discuss exactly what we tell the patients because it's very important. The biggest problem, I 6x6 post-operatively and walks out of my clinic happy and comes down 3 months down saying number वापस आ गया. और नंबर वापस कैसे आ गया? दिख तो सब रहा है, लेकिन दुकान वाले ने बोला, because we can never give zero. No, none of us can ever give zero, no matter what machine we buy and how many crores we spend. The fact is, we didn't tell the patient, and for the patient, we are all of us are numbers. I tell my patient that I'm going to give you vision. So numbers is for me and vision is for you. And that's where the story ends. So if you discuss numbers, then you can come and sit on my chair. So, and I always tell them that there will be a residual or 0.5 either which side. This because it's not going to be, you tell the optician that I'll read it. I'll read the chart for you, and chances are you'll read everything. So don't go on vision. And that's, I think, something which has helped me with getting rid of a lot of these problems with the patients. So again, like I said, optical stores are the biggest problem. And so you have to tell the patient to either, if you want to get really checked, go to an ophthalmologist and tell them a refractive surgery has been done. No ophthalmologist will tell you that you have a residual number, but all opticians will tell you because their job is to sell glasses. So I think it's important to prime the patient sometimes. The other thing I tell the patients not to do is compare left eye and right eye when they're at home, because for some reason their whole life they've never done this, but immediately after the surgery they'll start doing this. And so it's just baffling as to why this would happen. So I tell them that if you compare like this, you will dissociate, and so it will be difficult to fuse through, and I will do it for you at the end of a month. And again, most of them don't, some of them will still compare. And the other thing I tell them is to not compare with your peers, your brothers, sisters, or 6x6 patients sitting in the room, कि उस पेड़ पे तेरे को चिड़िया दिख रही है क्या और मुझे दिख रही है, because that again is, somebody is going to feel bad about the outcomes. And again, a different vision simply because of their capacity to see better. Again, I also tell all my patients that there is a limitation to science, and your body responds very differently for different people. So I never tell them that they'll be 6/6 on the first post-operative day. And I tell them that you will see what you're seeing with glasses, without glasses. Anything that you see extra, which is now being marketed so heavily with the latest lasers, that you will get 6/5 or 6/4, and they come out. realistic. I cannot add more vision because that's the capacity of your sight center. What I can do though is I can at least get rid of your glasses completely. I also tell them that every surgery has an expiry date. And a refractive surgery has an expiry date of about 20 to 25 years, because by then the body changes. You change, your eye changes, your structure, your face, your hair, everything will change. And you will not be the same patient for 20 years down the line. And I tell them that they will develop presbyopia and they might have changes in their refraction after 20, 25 years. Just prime them a little onto it so that they know. And I don't know if there is any relevant in the immediate post-operative phase, but it's important to tell them that this is how it is, because that's how the eye works. If there is a problem after this, I tend to go in for a full, thorough preoperative value. Dr. Virendra sir has discussed a lot of it. So I'm just showing you what tools I use. I use an aberrometer. An aberrometer is a tool that dissociates the corneal optics from the internal optics of the eye. Any aberrometer would do that. You can have any aberrometer, but it will tell you a problem that is there in the cornea, which will come from corneal topography, which is Placido. And with ray tracing aberrometry, it will tell you what's inside the eye. So if you do a math, you subtract the cornea from the total eye, you will get internal aberrations. So you know where the problem is coming from. Whether it's coming from the lens, it's coming from the retina, it's coming from the corneal interior or the corneal surface. And I'll just flip through this. It also gives, I think, is important. Most of the patients who are unhappy have some sort of dry eye. And that's because we didn't pick up the dry eye, or the patients were already on the edge and they flipped. Jaipur anyways is a Rajasthan. And these dry eye patients will have higher order aberrations because there is a light scatter. So just clinic preoperatively, and say this is long back, 2016, we put a patient on a lubricant, PG, PPG lubricant, waited for a few days, about 5 days, repeated the aberrometry, and you notice how all the aberrations are gone. It's because the first layer of the eye is the tear film, it's not the cornea. And if your tear film breaks down, you are going to have a poor vision. Breakup time anymore because I think it consumes time and space. Apart from looking at the lid morphology, which I now tend to document quite diligently for all patients, I'm now using breakup time using machines. So this is just to show you one of the topographies. I think this is a Cirrus that has a non-invasive breakup time. And this would be there in most topographies. So if you're buying a topo, negotiate one where you have things like non-invasive breakup time. So you don't put a paper on the patient's eye. It's a part of your workflow. So notice how real time in this eye, there's a scale on the timestamp, and somewhere around there, the first dry spot appears. It also tells you the time of the dry spot, which is about 7 to 8 seconds. So you know this patient has a propensity for dry eyes. I also incorporated the meibomian gland analysis, which is the lippy view. So this is to show you a patient where high myope, where I planned a primary ICL. I've put lipid layer analysis for all my patients as a preoperative workup, refractive or cataract, and LASIK or ICL. And this is just to show you a normal, the lipid layer thickness of 33, all glands present, non-functional. This is the patient who will complain of are there post-surgery. So I did do a lippy flow for this patient, and I made sure that his tear film is settled down. Some of the videos will not work. I did settle down his film, and it takes for the lippy flow, it takes some time. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the effect to show up. So you have to be ready to be able to counsel the patient, and don't chase away the patient. Lipid layer. The good thing about lippy view or lipid layer analysis is you don't need lippy view. You don't need to buy it. If you have it, you'll get numerics. But if you don't have it, this is just to show you lipid glands on an autorefractor. So your autoref is an infrared camera, and if you flip the lid, you will see these. If you don't want to buy a fancy equipment, there is no need. You can at least, most machines will have infrared cameras. These patients, I like to do a tear substitution, but I like to do a tear substitution with, now there are drops available which have mineral oils in them. And so I like to do a tear substitution with also an oil added component so that the film is stabilized. When it comes to post PRK haze, which again is common if you ablate a large dioptric power and if you don't use mitomycin C, I have now started to err more towards the use of, let's see if this moves. आगे बढ़ाएंगे अच्छा I've gone to the use of cyclosporin, and I use cyclosporin quite actively in all my post-operatives where there is a propensity to develop haze. And I learned that from Neeraj actually, because a lot of my patients with higher ablations were developing peripheral haze. I think Virendra sir has brought up cyclorefraction, and it's very important to do it pre-operatively. To just show you, highlight to you an example. So this is a pre-operative refraction. Very interestingly, now this is a complex patient, because one eye is myope, the other eye is hyperopic. Okay, so when we did a cyclorefraction, actually it was quite surprising. Eye became emetropic, and the hyperopic eye became more hyperopic. If we had ablated this patient without a proper atropinized refraction, so hyperopia was causing accommodation. And when you accommodation is a binocular, it's a bilateral reflex. So the myopic eye went more myopic. It's very important that even if you have a myope, to cycloplegic the patient and see, because surprisingly, a lot of these myopes may still have accommodation. And it would have been a big problem ablating this patient. So we've done the hyperopic eye. We're waiting for 3 months to the eye to settle down. And once the eye settle down, then I'm going to touch the myopia in its pristine state. I think pupil documentation is important, particularly if you're doing LASIK. You have to choose your zones, because the more pupil opens up, it's just a schematic to show you that you open up the pupil, you open up the bad things. Because the more pupil opens up, the more cornea opens up, the more of your lens opens up, and your aberrations start to come up. So you want to choose your ablation zone size based on the patient's pupil when you're treating the patient. So all investigations preferably should be done under mesothelioma, because there you will have the patient's pupil size and you will know. Length, I do biometry for all my patients, because not only from, like sir said, to look at post-operative surprises, but also because these patients and that data might be useful. So I mail the raw data to the patient so that they have it. So this is a patient who's come to me, wants glasses removal, has been advised LASIK, but is doctor shopping, so has come over here to see. And this is the patient's refraction, -5 with some cylinder, pure internal aberration. And so is the picture in the left eye. But if I look at the axial length, it's not that myopic. And the Ks are okay, but not that steep. Something was amiss. So we cycloplegic the patient. The moment we cycloplegic the patient, the refraction dropped from -4 to -0.8. This was classically a patient in an accommodative spasm who had been shopping, was desperate to get glasses removed, and could have been ablated if he had not done a cyclo. Now, who does a cyclo for a myope? Why just do a dilatation? But why put a cycloplegic and make the patient uncomfortable for one whole day? This is why, because it can happen. So I'm just going to run through this in the interest of time. Another sort of situation that may turn up is epithelium. So it may not be as useful to see it pre-operatively, but this is a patient I ablated. I did a PRK for a -2 myopia. After 2 months, the patient is still -2 myopia. Now, how is that possible? And this is an old patient, it's like 35-year-old. It's because the epithelium right in the area of ablation has taken the shape back. You notice this whole island it's supposed to be 50-55 microns, but we are sitting at 70 microns. So easily 15-20 microns of tissue, because it became a tabletop, the epithelium covered it up. If you don't do an epi mapping, we will be at wit's end trying to figure out what's happened to this patient and why did the refraction not stabilize. But now we know. It's been a year of patient on cyclosporin and on Trehalose eye drops. The left eye has started to stabilize, but the right eye is still the same. So I'm a little concerned whether I should be de-epithelializing this patient, or the patient has accepted it because he's in the presbyopic age now over the last 2 years. So I'm not touching this patient. When it comes to retreatment, I don't know if these videos will play, but retreatment is something I want to be I'm a little more careful with. I don't do too many retreatments, but if there's an obvious change in terms of regression, I will retreat. This is a femtoflap. The good part about femtoflaps is that you can see the edge. So you can lift up the edge in one single go. To see the edge, but once you can see the edge, these flaps will lift up even a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line. The maximum I've lifted is 3 years, 3 to 5 years, and the flaps do lift up nicely because the edges are also lasered and they're perpendicular edges. Chances of epithelial ingrowth after this surgery is minimal, but it's not zero. So these patients, if retreated, need to be monitored closely. Just to show you how a relift is just as simple as a primary lift in these cases. Okay, so again, just to show you an ICL with a low vault, this can happen despite the best calculations. This patient landed up with a low vault. The ICL was a toric ICL and the whole thing rotated. So patient came with a -2, -10 sphere with the -3 cylinder. Post-operatively, also the patient came back with a -2 cylinder because the ICL had rotated. And the internal aberrations were everywhere. So just moving ahead, if it does. Okay, so I'm just going to show you again that ICLs, again, good companies and standard ICLs are easy, but you have to be, opening them in the right frame of time. So this was maybe 4 to 5 months later. These ICLs will slip out as easily as they will go in, and with the same incision size, the 3.2 incision size, the ICLs, the only thing is you need good forceps with good grips. So if you hold it, notice how the ICL is such a thin, flimsy material. It comes out through the same incision. It comes out through the same incision just as easily as it went inside the eye. You have to be careful as to use dispersive viscoelastic. Whole ICL comes out en masse as is and can be exchanged if there is a problem. Again, for complicated issues like epithelial ingrowth and microstriae, if it's been more than 6 months, I don't lift these because these things will cause bad higher order aberrations because of scatter of light. And I'm just going to run through this just to show you that my treatment for choice for most of these patients, like Dr. Virender was just telling me, is the use of miniscleral lenses for most of the time. But if the ablation zone's weird, if it's a decentered treatment for these patients, very optics work best with contact lenses because you make lens because of your refractive indexes, the cornea doesn't play a role anymore, and the patients have good vision most of the time. Okay, just moving through customization sometimes may be needed, particularly for regular corneas. And I'm just going to show you just the post-operative outcomes. Who was RGP intolerant if it does play? Okay, so in this patient, doing a topo-guided treatment. This was a topo-guided ablation profile, just superimposing to show you what we did. And the patient turned from an irregular coma to a regular astigmatic profile. The idea was not to take out the complete correction. We only did higher order aberration corrections. And now these patients can be treated with ICLs or toric contact lenses and so on and so forth. And the aberration profile is really good for these patients. Thing I want to discuss before anything else is sometimes it's very important if you have an OCT to also do an OCT capture, particularly in high myopes, because there may be subtle retinal pathologies. Our team published this many years ago on the use of OCT in cataract pre-op, where we use it as a routine pre-op. And I think why not for refractive also, because you might pick up slight problems that may otherwise have been missed. Last but not the least, some patients need psychological workup because it's, they tend to sort of deflect their traumas and their problems to a surgery despite the best corrections. So I think it's very important that at some point in time, I think Nara Netrali and team have started, but it's very important to add some sort of psychological workup to make sure that you're not missing that may be a challenge post-operatively despite the best outcomes. With that, I'd like to end my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samresh. Thank you, Dr. Virender sir, Dr. JK sir, for all of your fantastic talks, fantastic insights, and hopefully will raise the bar of refractive surgery, at least in Jaipur. And lastly, to address the elephant in the room, apologies for the bad AV and AV logistical issues. And last, again, thank you for your kind attention. I hand over the podium to Dr. Mayank for further proceedings.
Good evening, everyone, once again. It's been a